hours alone. What hour would that be? What are you doing? How do you put that on? How do you pull that off?
Well, I mean, in my case, if I forget my glasses, I don't really know which end is up. So, you know, what can I tell you? Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, the U.S. Open tees off. The U.S. men get a draw with Brazil, and PK Subban joins us for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with the Boston Celtics continuing unbeaten on the road in these playoffs and beating Dallas last night 106-99 after almost blowing a 21-point lead in the fourth quarter. The Celtics are now up 3-0, and history says they will win the title. Luka Doncic fouled out with 4 minutes to go after picking up his fourth separate foul in the fourth quarter and expressed disgust with the officiating. Wilbon, is Luka right to blame the officials?
No. And he tried to walk it back to some degree by blaming himself, saying, guys, I got to be better than that, over this. And he'd gotten better, and I'm told that was a product largely of his coach, Jason Kidd, just saying, this has got to stop. But it doesn't stop. It goes on. And he was great at times last night, and Kyrie was great last night through most of the game, though he had to shoulder it by himself late because Luka wasn't there. What are you trying to do, take a charge when you're not a good defensive player at that space in the floor when you got 5 fouls? Take some blame, but nobody's accountable these days. It was a disappointing game last night, Tony. I thought Dallas would win. You were right. You had the series right. I had it wrong. And it's okay. Yep. Luka and his group now, Kyrie already knows the disappointment. Luka will know the sting of losing in the finals, and he will come back, I hope, better. He will come back without this as his face all the time.
So I'm going to be very brief about Luka. Every foul that I saw was a legitimate foul. There was a lot of contact. Luka does whine about fouls a lot. I would say if you've got 4 fouls or 5 fouls, why are you 25 feet away from the basket initiating contact? What are you going to do?
Yes.
And I'm glad you set the record straight. You picked Dallas to win the series, and you said it would go at least 6. I picked Boston, and I said I would pick Boston without any hesitation. Boston has been better in every single way in the series, including coaching. The other day, everybody started screaming that Jason Kidd had to put in Tim Hardaway Jr. You were one of the screamers as well. He played 19 minutes last night. He went 0 for 5. He produced no points whatsoever. Boston won Game 1 with a substitute leading the way, Porzingis. They won Game 2 with an unknown scorer, Jrue Holiday, leading the way. And they finally won Game 3 with their stars leading the way. And by comparison, Mike, I believe that the Dallas Stars failed. I'm going to take a few more seconds here.
Mavericks.
The Dallas guys... Mavericks, not the Stars. The Dallas Stars of that team, but the Mavericks Stars. They scored 1 more point than Tatum and Brown. But Tatum and Brown had a higher shooting percentage. They out-rebounded them 14-9. They out-assisted them 13-8, and they're not even guards. And there's a great statistic on Doncic. Through the first 3 quarters of all 3 games, he has 81 points, which is tremendous. It's tremendous. In the fourth quarters, he has a total of 8, and he shot 3 for 15.
Done.
Mike, the Celtics have not lost since May 9th. It's June 13th. They're 15-2, 10-0, 7-0 on the record. I don't know if they're a great team, Mike. History will judge. But they're having a great teams playoff.
And by the way, let me just push back real quickly on Hardaway. If you don't use him for forever, and then you throw him out there last night after some D&Ps, what are we talking about? We went through this with Karl Anthony Towns to a different extent.
Well, that's coaching.
He's the only guy you got. You just said rightfully so, or you at least told me off camera. You got, even if you had the best 2 people on the floor in a Dallas
team has the best 8.
Okay, so if that's the case, Tim Hardaway's got to help you. He's the only guy the Hardy kid could have helped. He's the only guy that can hit a shot. You don't have anybody else, and Luka's dead in the fourth quarter, probably from doing this, probably from that. Let's move to the first round of the United States Open at Pinehurst. Number 2 at Pinehurst. Of course, in progress still. Among the morning players, Patrick Cantlay took the early lead with a 5-under-65. Tony Finau finished 2 under. Brooks Koepka, Colin Morikawa were even on the day. And Tiger Woods, y'all, started with a birdie but finished +4. Tone, what did you see that matters?
I saw all of it. I got up early. I was on it at 7:15
Yeah.
Tiger Woods started, his first hole was number 10, a par 5. He birdied it. He was -1. He was literally on top of the leaderboard. And that was the highlight for him, except for a birdie on the other par 5. He made some really great par putts, but they were of such a distance because he wasn't close enough to the hole, and he finished -4. I will say this about Cantlay. Every time, other than Cantlay, every time you saw the ball, it was rolling off the green in some way. For Cantlay to go 5 under, for Oberg to go 4 under, that's tremendous. They're not going to do that 4 different times. Cantlay only took 23 putts in 18 holes. He really had a great round. Your two guys, Finau and Morikawa. Morikawa out of the sand on 17 and in, and a really long birdie putt on 18. I understand it's going on now, but when we started to talk about this, Rory McIlroy was having a pretty good day in an amazingly impossible group. Here's what I'm going to say, Mike. I played that course. I really like the course. It's got sand and wiregrass and bushes and schmutz all over, and if you land in it, it is tough to get out with the shot that you want, and the greens are crowned, so if you roll over, it's a longer shot than you ever imagined. The course is the star today.
Yeah, Tony, I'm trying to get into the course, and you have tried to convince me of this because I've asked you other times when you were at Pinehurst, Tony, how do you like it? You love it. And I'm looking at it thinking, if I want to see balls roll off a hill, I'll just watch you and me play. I don't need to see that at the U.S. Open, and I get it. I love the Open. I got up. You got up at 7, whatever. That's an hour earlier here in Dallas, Texas. So I was up at 6, whatever. Look, the Tiger thing, I don't want to go down that road because you can't be a part-timer in anything and really contend. It's not sustainable. So it's great to see him out there, but that is of no consequence. You know how much I love Morikawa and Finau and Matty Fitz.
Yep.
I'm rooting for the same 3 guys I root for every week, and 2 of those guys are playing pretty well, and Matty Fitz is still in there swinging. So, but the course, Tony, the crowned greens, like now, so my brother Don has given me for Christmas, you know what he gave me for Christmas? A trip to Pinehurst. You know what I'm going to tell Don at the end of the weekend? I'm going to exchange that for some socks. Because I don't think I want to go there and just putt back and forth. What are we doing?
I'm going to call Don. I'll play with Don. I love the joint. I'll play with Don. The United States men's national soccer team tied Brazil last night 1-1 in a game played in Orlando. This comes on the heels of the team's 5-1 embarrassing loss to Colombia last week in Washington, which got everyone bent out of shape. The U.S. is playing in a big tournament, Copa America, which starts in 10 days. Wilbon, you are a big soccer fan. You actually go to European soccer games.
Yes.
Does this draw with Brazil calm our concerns?
I mean, largely. I mean, the game with Brazil, given what's coming up, the tournament coming up, and playing with these South American teams coming up, you needed to have a better showing than giving up 5 goals like we did to Colombia. You had to be better than that. They were better than that. And so I read Berhalter's comments, and I largely agree with him. It does to an extent. They've still got to get better. Tony, I'm interested. I am actually interested. Just like you're trying to convince me about Pinehurst #2, I'm trying to convince you. Get rid the rest of the world and watch some important soccer games, particularly in big tournaments, international tournaments on a grand scale. Come on now.
Yeah, I understand. I'm the worst guy to talk to about this because if you talk to me about the pitch, I assume you're talking about baseball. But I don't necessarily understand how these so-called friendlies have anything to do with a real tournament. Copa America is a real tournament, right? It is to this hemisphere what the Euros are in Europe. And the play is going to be keener at that point. So I don't know that anything that happens before then really matters. And I don't think Brazil cares at all about playing this game last night. If I have this correct, we are in a group with Uruguay and Panama and Bolivia. Bolivia is ranked 85th, Panama 45th, Uruguay is ranked 15th, and we're ranked 11th. So shouldn't we win? Shouldn't we come out of it? And then don't we get another shot at Brazil? Do you know what our record is all time against Brazil? Do you know what it is?
Yeah.
It's 1-18-1.
And 1.
1-18-1. This is only the second time they haven't beaten us ever.
There's that one.
So I hope it matters. one. Let's take a break. Coming up, what happened to the Oilers offense? We're going to ask PK Subban ahead of tonight's Game 3.
We'll also ask him whether the league was right not to suspend Leon Draisaitl for that elbow to the head of Mr. Barkov. Tony, who's got a better shot? Dallas at winning or us of beating Brazil?
If we played Brazil in a knockout round, I would bet on them. World Cup final shifts to Edmonton tonight with the Panthers up 2-0 over the Oilers. Coming to us via FaceTime from his hotel bathroom in Edmonton is our great friend ESPN hockey analyst PK Subban, who appears to have stolen a shirt from Robin Hood in Sherwood Forest. I love that look. Let's get to the crux of the matter, PK. The Oilers had been averaging 3.5 goals per game throughout the entire playoffs. They have 1 goal in 2 games. What are the Panthers doing to them?
No holes, Tony. Wilbon, no holes. There's no holes in a championship team. You see the Boston Celtics doing it in the NBA. It's the same thing for the Florida Panthers. I've already pegged them as the best defensive team in hockey, and I believe when it's all said and done, they'll be the best team in hockey. They have no holes. Once you get through Barkov, Sam Bennett up the middle, and then you get through Gustav Forsling, who's the best defensive defenseman right now in the game, you still got to beat Sergei Bobrovsky, who's the front runner for the Conn Smythe. They got 0 holes, but Edmonton's going to have to find a way to get it done. But right now, it's all about the Florida Panthers and where they're playing. They're a championship team.
PK, I think some of these chances, I mean, there was a swirl of activity by Edmonton to start Game 1, but the chances just seem kind of soft. Isn't there something, anything Edmonton can do to, like, disengage Bobrovsky, to throw him off, to distract him, just to get on his nerves?
Wilbon, they got to get in his kitchen. They got to get in his kitchen. They're not doing enough to rattle him. You know what get in his kitchen means? When Mama Subban's making chocolate chip pancakes and her Jamaican jerk chicken in the kitchen and I stick my hand in there, she smacks my hand and says, get out of the kitchen. Well, that's what I'm saying. Sergei Bobrovsky, he ain't going to like it. Get in his kitchen. No, I'm serious. They got to make it difficult on him. He's got to have to make second and third saves. Right now, it's one and done. It's not hard enough. They're not making it hard enough on Sergei Bobrovsky as far as I'm concerned. He takes away the lower part of the net. They got to get in front of him, and they got to stir it up a little bit.
Speaking of making it hard on, I love that analogy, by the way. The league could have made it hard on Edmonton if they suspended Draisaitl for the elbow on Barkov. But we need to know from you whether you're okay with the league not taking any action on that.
Wilbon, Tony, it was an elbow. It was an elbow. I don't know if you guys have heard of elbow room in Fort Lauderdale. There's different rules depending on the location. Well, this is the Stanley Cup final, and I guess there's different rules in the Stanley Cup final. But, hey, guess what? He's on my radar. He's on the world's radar right now. And the league, let's give the league credit. They set the standard with the Panarin hit. They set the standard with Trouba. They set the standard with Sam Bennett. So, and you've seen Sam Bennett. After that hit on Marchand, we haven't heard his name. So, Leon Draisaitl, this guy's got a clean track record. He's never been suspended, never done anything dirty as far as I'm concerned. So he's got to understand he's going to have eyes on him now. He's got to be responsible. But, you know, with me, the biggest thing is Barkov. Is he hurt or is he not? He's not hurt. This is the Stanley Cup Finals. This is hockey. It's not basketball. It's not tiddly sticks. It's not twiddle your thumbs. This is hockey, and it's the Stanley Cup Final. Play on. I love it. It's okay. But he's got eyes on him now. He's got to be careful.
We will get you out of here on this, but the next time you're on the show, you better bring us some of those chocolate chip pancakes, because Wilbon and I want them. Here we go. If you were on the Oilers right now, ahead of tonight's game, you're in the room on the Oilers, what advice would you be giving your teammates?
Boys, it's time to put the women and children to bed and go hunting for dinner. It's hunting time. Take the first 2 games, throw them in the trash. Listen, you've worked your whole lives. Forget the season. You've worked your whole lives for this opportunity. All the trainers, all those early mornings with mom, all the sacrifices you guys have made when all your friends are partying in the summertime, you're dieting, no drinking, no social life. You've given all that up for this moment. Leave it all on the ice. Everybody's got to give a little bit more. You got to keep your emotions in check, because that'll cost you against this Florida Panthers team. But it's time to hunt. Go out and take this from them. It's not about sitting back and seeing what comes. You got 20,000 people in there. They're going to be screaming loud. This is the best building to play in the National Hockey League right now. And you heard it here. The Edmonton Oilers fans have showed up in a big way for this team. It's time for them to repay it and repay it to themselves, too. This is your moment. Take advantage of it.
Thank you so much, PK, as always.
I go through a wall after hearing that from PK. Right through the wall. Right to the ice. Thanks, PK.
Well, I think I said something like that in our Stanley Cup final, but we didn't get it done. So we'll see what happens tonight.
You can catch tonight's Game 3 on ABC at 8 p.m. Eastern. Let's take one last break. But still to come, Tom Brady and the Patriots appear to be back on the same page.
And the NFL punishes the Falcon for tampering with Kirk Cousins.
That's a great speech. Let's go hunting for dinner. Isn't that a great speech?
I'm ready to play. Yeah. I'm ready to at least watch.
Happy time, people. Happy 65th birthday, Chuck Nevitt. At 7'5", Nevitt has the distinction of being the tallest player in NBA history to have played on a championship team. Nevitt was a member of the 1985 Lakers championship team. Nevitt was drafted by the Rockets in the 3rd round out of North Carolina State in 1982. Played on the Rockets, Lakers, Pistons, Bulls, and Spurs. His teammates included Hakeem Olajuwon, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, Elvin Hayes, James Worthy, Bob McAdoo, Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars, Michael Jordan, and David Robinson. In 9 seasons, Nevitt played in a total of 155 games, scored a total of only 251 points, averaging 5.3 minutes a game. But he had a great seat.
Well, he didn't have a great seat on the 83 NC State national team because he wasn't on that team. He was drafted before. But he did play for the Houston Flyers, the Rapid City Thrillers, the Miami Tropics. I thought that was fictional. The Capital Region Pontiacs, and the Hartford Hellcats. I hope he got to elbow Bill Laimbeer in the head in practice when he was on the Detroit Pistons. I hope he did. Well-placed elbow.
Happy anniversary, Shaquille O'Neal. Around this day 22 years ago, Shaq led the Lakers to a sweep over the New Jersey Nets for the Lakers' 3rd straight NBA title and his 3rd straight Finals MVP. In this particular three-peat, Shaq averaged 35.9 points, 15.2 rebounds, and 2.9 blocks as the Lakers won 12 games in the Finals and lost just 3. Is it possible we don't give Shaq enough credit for how he performed in the NBA Finals? He was in 6 of them and he won 4 of them. He averaged 28.8 points and 13-point rebounds for Orlando, the Lakers, and Miami, and Shaq's record in the finals was 17-13.
He really was great in those finals. Tony, one of the fun things about being at these finals is that you get to hang out with Shaq. Seen Shaq like every day. There's rarely better company than Shaquille O'Neal, who is funny and a great storyteller and just a great guy who's always been comfortable in his skin. Not always true of big men, as you know, but Shaquille is, thankfully.
Happy trails to any New England Patriot ever wearing number 12 again. Team owner Bob Kraft told a sold-out crowd at Gillette Stadium last night that the team will retire Tom Brady's number. Kraft also announced the Patriots would unveil a 12-foot-tall statue of Brady prior to the upcoming season. All of this was part of a 3-hour ceremony inducting Brady into the Patriots Hall of Fame. In addition to 60,000 fans, more than 100 of Brady's former teammates and coaches turned out, as did Peyton Manning. Bill Belichick said to Brady, quote, "Thank you for all that you've done for us, and thank you for all that you've done for me," unquote.
Wow.
And Brady returned the sentiment saying, quote, "It wasn't me, it wasn't you, it was us."
That's great to hear as a cap. By the way, what's after a roast and this ceremony? What's left? You just levitate to the heavens? What's next?
What's left is about 40 seconds for the big finish. Adrian Wojnarowski reports that J.J. Redick will formally interview for the Lakers coaching job this weekend. Your thoughts?
We're going to talk about this Lakers coaching job every day, aren't we? The NFL docked the Falcons a 5th-round pick, fined the team $250 large for tampering with Kirk Cousins and others. Your reaction?
Slap on the wrist. Pete Thamel reports the Big 12 could sell the big part of its name to a title sponsor. Okay by you?
Somebody suggested, was it our producer Eric, the 7-11-12? Joey Chestnut Kobayashi will face off in a Labor Day hot dog eating contest on Netflix. What?
No. Last one, WNBA tonight. Will the Aces lose their 4th straight?
They're playing at the Mercury. I think that's entirely possible. Yes.
Oh, we're out of time. Trying to better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, knuckleheads.
Solo Dolo, we've got PTI coming back in a couple of minutes. They're going to debate if the Mavericks can make a historic comeback versus the Celtics. I'm intrigued. And the Stanley Cup final resumes tonight. How do the Oilers find some offense so they can avoid a 3-0 hole as well? Plus, which quarterback is about to get paid? Adam Schefter standing by. But we are going to start with a developing story in the NBA, and it doesn't have anything to do with the NBA Finals. According to our Adrian Wojnarowski, the Lakers are going to interview ESPN analyst J.J. Redick for their head coaching job this weekend. You'll remember LA struck out on UConn's Dan Hurley. Redick would have moved toward the top of the list with a pretty strong performance. Worth noting, Redick shares a podcast with LeBron James. So here's the resume. Redick has no NBA coaching experience, but he did play 15 seasons in the league. He ranks in the top 20 all-time in three-pointers. 3 of the last 5 coaches hired for LeBron James teams came in with no prior head coaching experience. It didn't go particularly well, but there is some history there. The podcast he co-hosts with LeBron, by the way, is called Mind the Game, and certainly they are 2 of the best minds at it. Same here. Adrian Wojnarowski, who broke the story, is with us for so much more alongside our Lakers reporter Dave McMenamin. But I'll start with you, Woj. What can you tell us about what's next in this process for Redick?
J.J. Redick will be in L.A. this weekend. This will be his first formal interview with both Rob Pelinka, Jeannie Buss, and the Lakers owner. Redick met with Pelinka at the Chicago pre-draft combine, kind of a get-to-know-you, 90 minutes plus or so. But this will be kind of going through the full gamut. And if he performs well here, I'm told it'll largely be his job to lose. He is at the forefront of this search again, as the Lakers recalibrated after losing out on Connecticut's Dan Hurley. And this is a chance for both Redick and Pelinka, to talk through everything that goes with this job: staff, player development, all the elements, and among others, how J.J. Redick would feature Anthony Davis, not just in this current iteration of the Lakers, but moving forward. And so this is a big opportunity for Redick, and he's in position right now to go in, interview well, and solidify himself as a clear front runner in this process, El.
He could absolutely be like, if you want to know my thoughts on how you could do this better, here's my podcast with LeBron James. We talk about it plenty. And Dave, and they know that there is a relationship with them with that podcast. But what can you share with us about his role in LA's search for its next head coach, that being LeBron?
Well, I can tell you that LeBron was in communication with Dan Hurley over the weekend about the potential head coaching job that he would have assumed had he decided to leave UConn. And that is in line with how he's approached this job search thus far. He hasn't been reaching out to the Lakers and talking to them about any candidates or pushing any candidates, but he wants the team to be able to find the best viable prospect. And as for the idea that LeBron James and J.J. Redick were planning months ago to plant the seed in the Lakers by starting this podcast that, hey, this is the guy we want, I spoke to Rich Paul of Clutch Sports today about that, and he said it's a ridiculous idea. It doesn't make any sense to suggest that there was some sort of covert signal just because a guy is on the hot seat, to suggest that then someone having a basketball podcast to discuss X's and O's would be the reason to push that person out would be a sign of an even bigger problem within the Lakers. And quite frankly, Rich Paul told me it would be disrespectful to suggest that cause and effect when it comes to Darvin Ham.
So he says it's not true, but I mean, we never want to let the truth get in the way of a good story. At least that's social media's way. Again, J.J. Redick scheduled to interview for the Lakers head coach job this weekend. Of course, anything that happens as it develops, we'll bring it to you here. Adrian Wojnarowski, Dave McMenamin, thanks for joining us here on SportsCenter. We keep mentioning them. The Lakers are only talking to Redick because the object of their affection, Dan Hurley, turned down their 6-year, $70 million offer. He's returning to UConn to chase a 3rd straight national championship, though some have said he was just doing all this, leveraging LA to get more money in college, and he was not having any of that.
When the Lakers come calling and, and you're the type of person that, is competitive and looking for challenges and wants to be the best the way I am, I mean, it was something that I really had to consider. For me, this was not, again, a leverage situation. I've won, back-to-backs, and and I've had plenty of leverage in the off season. In the end, it's like what fulfills you. What does the combination of your mind and your heart tell you to do, and what's best for your family, and just where do you belong at this point?
Dan Hurley was like, do you see these multiple rings? I don't need no leverage. He returns. Of course, UConn trying to win 3 straight championships. UCLA won 7 in a row under John Wooden from 1967 to 1973. Since that UCLA run, only 2 other schools have won back-to-back titles. That was Florida, and they missed the tournament altogether when they were going for its three-peat. And then Duke, which lost to Cal in the second round back in 1993. Well, you talk about the Mavericks, and, well, they went for 3 straight somethings, just not in the way their fans want. They're now in a 3-0 hole after 3 straight losses in the finals. It went from good to bad for Luka, too. And last night's loss, he come out hot in the first quarter, cools off, fouls out with 4 minutes left, and the Mavs within 3. Dallas pulls within 1 before Boston pulls away. And now down 3-0. Luka talking to our Malika Andrews earlier this afternoon.
Kyrie said after the game, what did you say to Luka? And he said at this point, you just kind of have to give him a hug and tell him it's okay. But did you feel like you let your teammates down?
Yeah, of course. I mean, like I say, it wasn't the smartest thing to do, especially in this situation. It's the finals. You got to give everything. A little tie out there. But yeah, Kyrie's been great for me, just having him on here. So I wish I was in the game.
So what did you say to your teammates afterwards?
It's my bad. Can't do that, especially